Welcome back. It's Wealth and Wellness Wednesdays, and you are tuned in to the
Turnip. Welcome, Great Roots Turnip, Season 3, Episode 7.
Yes.
I am Farmer Mac.
And I'm Roots, and we're in separate locations today, but we're still going to make it work and make it happen. We have a great guest on today. It's a chef from LA. He has been Sean P. Diddy Combs' love, whatever his name is. What's his name now?
Diddy, I thought. Ain't it just Diddy? Ain't it just back to Diddy?
No, I think he's calling himself Love these days.
I don't know.
Well, he used to be his chef, and he's interested in teaching and showing people how to grow healthy stuff. Well, not grow, but cook the stuff you grow for the most part. Speaking of stuff you grow, I guess we got to get into this week in the garden real quick.
Absolutely.
Yes, so we finally.
by the way, I watered today.
Yes.
I know. Small victories. I actually did something you told me to do.
Thank
I just
you.
happened to be walking by that. I was like, I know I'm supposed to do something today, and I watered. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
No doubt.
You don't have to water as much in the fall because it's cool, but it definitely still needs some water. And we planted leafy greens. So Malcolm watered the leafy greens. I planted kale, collard greens, which the chef is going to tell us today how to make a healthy collard green recipe. I also planted kale. I said that kale, collard greens, cabbage, and lettuce.
Yep.
So we have some leafy greens out there now.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because the project we had over there in East Lake, Atlanta, the Gardenside community, they just contacted us today. They said they're running behind, but they're going to do some stuff on Wednesday. But I told them I'd go over there and help them start planning, and they were asking. So this falls right in line. We'll send them this podcast about the leafy greens that we are planning and help them do their boxes. I think they're about 8 or 9 boxes over there. So I'm going to go over there and help them midday during lunchtime to help them plant that stuff.
Perfect. Look at grapefruits in the community out here growing, eating, and sustaining. Look at that.
There you go.
Well, without further ado, we're going to welcome our guest. So this week we have Chef Daz, and I'm not going to say we because it's actually me by myself. Farmer Mac is out playing hooky, having fun at a restaurant, probably drinking, who knows, but he's going to miss probably one of our best interviews we have to date because I'm going to kill it.
That's right.
So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Of
course. I thought it was important to have Chef on because we have a lot of conversation about the local food movement. And then a lot of times people are really concerned and they have questions about like how to turn healthy food into something that tastes good. And so I felt like it's important to have a chef's point of view from the agricultural standpoint. So tell us a little bit about you.
Man, so, growing up, I grew up in a big family. In fact, my mom and all of her siblings grew up on a farm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I have been around kind of farm to table food before I knew I was, right? Before it was a thing. My mom has 8 brothers and sisters.
Oh, wow.
So they're from a small country town in Michigan. And, they all had kids. And I got 32 first cousins. So we used to go out there and hang out all the time. And literally, I remember as a kid, like raising pigs and chickens being on the farm and, having to play outside and eating blackberries till I got sick and, crabapple trees and all kind of stuff that was just on the farm. So I've been around food my entire life. I didn't necessarily know I wanted to be a chef growing up. I was playing basketball and I was into girls. So I thought I was going to the NBA or something, man. And then reality set in that I needed to really find out what I was going to do in life. And I actually started business school. I started my career at Morris Brown College out in Atlanta.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know that either.
You didn't know that? Yeah, HBCU. I was a Brownite. Started out at Morris Brown and then actually transferred to culinary school from there. So when I transferred to culinary school, it's kind of where it all started. And the reason I transferred is because when I was at school at Morris Brown, I was working as a waiter at a restaurant in Atlanta. And I was doing really good. And I just used to always mess with the cooks and like go give them tips and like just try to get my food out quick and just hang out with the kitchen all the time. And they always used to be like, man, you need to come on this side. You need to come back here and cook with us. And I kind of blew it off for a while. And then when Morris Brown actually lost his accreditation, I was there. I was like my 2.5 years in college. And Morris Brown pulled out their, they basically told us like what was happening. All of us are transferring out. All my friends, some of my friends went to Morehouse, some went to Clark, some were transferring to Georgia Tech and Georgia State. And I kind of just had like a real moment with myself. Like, what do I really want to do? And why, I'm studying business now. And what does that look like? And transferred to culinary school. And man, my instructors in my class at that time were CIA graduates. So they were really strict. And I just kind of fell in love with it from that point. And then graduated top of my class from culinary school, and then kind of hit the ground running, man, and just had an amazing career through food since then, man. So it's been a long time.
So it sounds like for you, you had like kind of like a blood story. Like it's kind of probably been embedded in you for a long while. It's interesting that you said that you came from a family that grew up on a farm and things like that. It's similar to mine. I come from a big family like you do. So I think I have 30 first cousins.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's dope.
And my parents grew up on a hog farm in Virginia. And so little do you realize how powerful like your roots really end up being once you get to a place where you're like, oh, this is what I'm doing now.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting. I literally have stories of just being outside and remember like, all the stories that they used to tell about when they used to have to catch their food and cook it. And my grandma at the time was like Big Mama, right? So she was just like sitting there and snapping peas and that whole deal that you can think about in your memory. Like I have all of those memories of my grandmother. And I actually used to have to feed the hogs. I remember, they didn't have as many as they did when I was young, when they were younger, when I was young. But they still had a couple. And I definitely remember going out there and it was disgusting, right? But it was you got a hog pen, man, and you literally like throwing slop in there, like and they're tearing it up. But what I would do to do that now and actually have that experience and like be able to actually take that hog and roast them and really cool things to do a real like spit and like. So yeah, no, I think being that I'm a chef these days is kind of super full circle. Especially living here in California, we have access to really fresh produce. I'm French trained, right? So the first restaurant I worked at here in LA was the Sofitel Hotel, which is a French hotel. And that's where I learned my techniques. That's where I learned the precision of my cooking and my presentation. And then it was really about networking and kind of just getting out in the world and doing different things within the industry. When I graduated culinary school, I knew I wanted to be a chef, but I didn't know what kind of chef I wanted to be. So my approach was a little different. I just kind of wanted to do everything. So I tapped into, doing television shows, and I wrote a book and I actually taught. So a lot of my background and what I do now stems from me teaching. So I actually founded the first ever culinary arts program at Beverly Hills High School.
Get out of town.
I did. So I actually went and got a teaching credential in California, and I actually taught high school kids for about 7 or 8 years. And I had gardens. I had a garden on the school campus. And a lot of my students, they turned out to actually be chefs. Some of them own coffee shops here in LA. Some of them are restaurateurs. And so a lot of what I do now is all about teaching, and that stems back from me being a teacher and kind of being in that, just wanting to educate and kind of bring up the next future chefs, I guess, if you will. So I kind of done a lot of things within my industry to just realize what I was good at and what I wanted to do. And right now it's kind of more like I'm in the business of food.
So let me ask this. So going back to kind of like Big Mama cooking, right? Because you have this farm background. And back in the day when we used to cook food from the farm, we used to make it real nice and fattening and like add all these, all these creative ways to make stuff taste good. Absolutely. And I know like throughout the years that may not have been the best for our community, right? And so as you started off in that kind of those kind of homegrown roots, how would you say your farm to table may look now?
Yeah, so it's a lot more cleaner. We still want to use those same flavors that we had back in the day, right?
Right.
So we want to kind of give that same essence and that same feeling that we had when we had that food. But for me, I'm really big on colors. So what it would look like now is super bright, right? So you'll see some reds, right? So I may take a red pepper, and instead of using it in a traditional sense, I may juice it and cook it down and make a red pepper sauce, right? So you still have that same flavor, and you still can see the brightness of the red pepper, but it's just presented differently. If we're using chicken or pork, I might just use the pork belly and really season that up really good. And so there's just going to be some plays on it, right? So I like to take traditional food, right? If we're thinking Thanksgiving, I used to take traditional flavors and just make it, I guess, 5-star. So the same feeling, the same smells you get, just kind of elevating that palate a little bit and kind of thinking outside the box of what it looks like as far as putting it on a plate. And then obviously we eat smaller, right? So we're not eating big old plates, right? We're eating, we used to eat plates that you can have leftovers for 2 or 3 days. Like we're eating small plates. So we want to make sure that you can eat a meal and like still feel good about yourself, But yeah, definitely working on a presentation and just taking some of those old flavor combinations and presenting them in a new way.
So speaking of Thanksgiving, I would just ask this question. So if I were to have greens, because we're telling people right now it's the fall season, and so it's really a good time to plant your leafy greens. So one of those that I really enjoy is collard greens. And so in your idea of a healthy way to make collard greens, what would you suggest?
Healthy way to make collard greens. Let's see.
We wanted to still be like really good flavored without all the like sodium, like how would somebody start to want to like change a recipe for something like your basic collard greens during Thanksgiving?
Yeah, so collard greens, right? That flavor profile, that initial flavor comes from like bacon, right? Or some kind of pork, right? Or some kind of pork that you put in the bottom to get that good
Absolutely.
flavor, right? So what I would do is I would take vegetable stock, right? So first off, I would take some vegetable broth, put that down because that's actually still has some flavor and some seasoning in it. I would take that vegetable stock, cook that down, get that good flavor. Cook my, if I'm not using any meat, I'm cooking my collards down. I'm obviously putting a little bit of vinegar in there, take that bitter out, putting some sugar in there.
I've never done that.
Oh yeah, it works. Yeah. I would saute onions first. That's what I would do. I would saute onions and garlic. And then I would cook that down. And then I would put my greens in that, onions and garlic. And then I would pour vegetable stock on top of that and cook that down. And I would put sugar and vinegar. Yeah, that's how I would do that. So it's kind of
I'm gonna try it. Look, I'm gonna try it this year. So I'm growing collard greens as we speak. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll be ready to go. And if they're not ready to go Thanksgiving, I'll at least have them for Christmas. But I'm gonna definitely try that for sure. Like,
and here's the thing about it. Like, everything is good in moderation. That's it.
I agree there.
Everything is good in moderation. If you want a little bit of flavor, don't use like a neck bone or nothing like that, right? But you could use a turkey leg, right? Smoked turkey leg. Right? Smoked turkey legs are always good. And even if you just want to use that turkey leg to cook it down and then just use the flavor from the turkey leg, that's definitely a good way to get that same flavor and, have some good turkey meat.
So speaking of flavors, I know you have seasonings. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so Spice Sack was actually my pandemic baby.
So it's called Spice
Sack.
Spice Sack.
Yeah, Spice Sack. Yep. So exactly like it sounds. So during this pandemic, just like many of us, our industry, the hospitality industry, was affected the most, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of chefs were out of work. Me, I actually had just moved to Atlanta at the time to start this project out of college. big shout out to Atlanta Technical College. That's actually, where I graduated culinary school from. And it was kind of a full circle moment of me coming back to open up their food services program and run their cafe on campus. So I just got back to Atlanta after, not living there since, I left in 2005. I was gone for almost 15 years and then came back to open up this project. And initially I was running in kind of bi-coastal, living in California, running a business in Atlanta. Then I just was like, man, let me just go to Atlanta just to see what this feels like. And, we get to Atlanta and I think we were there for like 6 months and the pandemic happened.
Dang.
Yeah, so the timing was terrible of it all. But what happened during that time, was actually a good moment of clarity for me, because it was the first time in my life that I had just sat down and just had to be with myself and just understand what I wanted to do next and like what that looked like. I was always catching planes or traveling or working on projects or doing this and doing that. And I mean, I probably, traveled 2 or 3 times a month. So it was just a real, to not have anything to do. One was just like a shock, like, wait, I don't have anything to do. So I'm sitting there and I was sitting at home and first, the business closed, right? We were on college campus. That was the first thing to close. So we, business completely closed down. And, I could have came back to Los Angeles to do different things. And I was just like, let me just sit and be. So in sitting and within 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, all right, let me figure out what can I do, right? Restaurants are closed, but what's next? What's that next thing look like? And products were still moving. We were still getting Amazon packages at our house.
Absolutely.
Day, right? So Amazon stock went up like during the pandemic, like because everybody was just at home ordering products. And
I still don't go to the store to this day. Like I still order everything.
I'm sure
everything.
Your vegetables, I mean, your groceries delivered and everything, huh?
Well, that's the one thing I do is I will go grocery shopping once a month, and that's it. Everything else gets delivered to the house.
Yeah, no, it was one of those things like products were still moving and I was like, well, let me look into doing a product. And I've always wanted to come up with my, own food line. And the name was just when the name came to me, Spice Sack, I knew exactly what it looked like. I knew exactly how I was going to approach it. And we created this crazy brand, man, Spice Sack. And we started with 3 flavors, which was our chef's blend flavor, seafood splash, and our French toast. So those were our 3 flavor profiles that we started with. We've later added margarita salt and taco blend. So we have 5 flavors now, and they're killing it. We're on Amazon. So we launched on Amazon.
They got on Amazon. Everybody's ordering Amazon.
That's exactly right. We're on Amazon. And it's doing its thing. It's taking a life of its own. It was literally my pandemic baby. And now it's, turning into its own thing. So we're looking at getting it into stores. We're looking at continuing to grow it. We're looking at doing a fundraising round for it soon to really do some cool things. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade, literally, you know what I mean? And that was exactly what it was. It was me sitting there and not knowing what I was going to do next, and then created an entire business out of this pandemic. It's fun.
So let me ask you this. So out of each one of those 5 spices, if I were to buy them, give me a good idea. What is the best, like, where do you think you would use each one of those? So like, if you're like, you would use French toast on this, like, and not like the obvious, but like some people wouldn't normally put it on, but you'd be like, it'll be good to use on this.
Oh yeah. So let's start with French toast. So French toast.
Yes, because I'm like, what is that about?
So French toast is that original French toast flavor profile, right? So you got your cinnamon, your nutmeg, your vanilla, your brown sugar. You got all of those cool things. So what I actually use it on the most is my sweet potatoes. So I cook my sweet potatoes with that brown sugar, with that whole flavor profile. I just use that right away, and it's amazing. I obviously
it's funny you say that, because we were talking about Thanksgiving earlier, and before I thought about asking you about collard greens, I was going to ask you about making sweet potatoes. So this is perfect. So like, if people want to make those sweet potatoes for Thanksgiving, they can use the French toast seasoning from Spice Sack on Amazon.
That's right. And that's all you need, honestly. Like, and that was the whole idea, behind the brand, is creating a package to where all you had to do is use that actual package, and that you don't need any other seasoning for that. You don't have to have, you know, salt or anything else. Everything is in this package. You use this package, that's all you need. So that was kind of the idea behind it.
So wait, they're in little sacks?
They're in little sacks. Yeah.
That's like, okay, so it just dawned on me, like spice sack. Got it. Okay. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, so they're in little sacks.
I'm rolling with you. I got it.
Yep. They're in little sacks, 6-ounce bags. And yeah, they're really cool, man. A lot of people are into them. Yeah, so Chef's Blend is our everyday seasoning. So Chef's Blend is the one that you can, it's just salt and pepper, right? So that's essentially, I always tell people, if you want to season, just use salt and pepper, right?
Yeah.
You can always add, but you can never take away. So don't go crazy with adding, because once you add it, you can't get that out, right? So add taste,
Right.
add taste, right? So if you need more, you can always add, but you can never take away. So with your Chef's Blend, that's your everyday seasoning. You know, I use that on eggs. I use it in salads. I use it in everything. Seafood splash is obviously great on seafood, but it's also great for like grilled vegetables. If you're vegetarian, you can use it on tofu. There's a lot of different flavor profiles you can play with that.
I'm gonna put it on my popcorn.
So popcorn is a really good one. I was gonna say, I know a lot of people who put Chef's Blend on popcorn.
Yep.
And they love it. And then margarita salt. It's funny, man, somebody just recently told me they put margarita salt on their chicken wings. So it was almost like a play on pepper chicken wings. And it was good. And I know people who put it on their corn. So they put margarita salt on their corn. And then obviously they put it on their hand and take shots and whatever. But
is it salty, or does it have like a limey flavor to it? Or like when you're saying margarita salt, does it have like a hint of anything with that?
It is, yeah. So it's actually a salt sugar blend with lime crystals in it.
Oh.
Yeah. So you got some lime, some essence of lime. You got that flavor. You got some sweetness, and then you got your salt. So yeah, it's actually 3 different ingredients in the margarita salt.
I could definitely see that on some chicken wings for sure.
100%. Yeah. When they told me, I was like, oh yeah, that's my sister actually the one who told me. She was like, you gotta try this. Like,
you didn't even try it. It's your seasoning.
I tried it.
You're like, wait, I didn't even think about that one. That's a good one.
Put that in my bag. Absolutely.
So what about the other 2?
So Chef's Blend, margarita salt, taco blend. Taco blend is obviously great for tacos. We're doing it on quesadillas. People put it on shrimp. I made amazing fish tacos with it. And yeah, I think you can kind of taste them all and figure out exactly what you want to do. That's the beautiful thing about like creating recipes and creating, you know, using ingredients, is that you can always make up your own, right? Just like you said, you can put seafood splash on your popcorn, right? That can be your own thing. That could be your thing where you're like, yeah, this seafood splash, which I use for seafood, but I actually is bomb on my popcorn. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a lot of flavors within there that you can kind of play with and just have a lot of fun with.
I like that. I'm definitely going to get the French toast. I'm probably going to definitely get the margarita.
Cool, yeah.
Margarita salt.
Margarita salt, yeah.
And then for sure, is it the Chef's Blend?
Chef's Blend. You need Chef's Blend in your life.
Yes, I'm just going to get them all. Because I mean, one thing people always have a hard conversation about is cooking vegetables and making vegetables taste good. Because, you know, farm to table, especially for us, people are unwilling to sometimes try certain vegetables because they just don't know how they could taste. Like we know how they taste coming straight out the ground, and people are like, oh, I don't like, you know, how it is sometimes with vegetables.
Right.
And then they don't realize like you can use the different things like these, you know, these spices, right, to help flavor different vegetables. And you didn't even know like, oh, I didn't realize corn could taste like this, or I didn't realize, you know, my green beans could taste like this. It's like you just got to get creative and then putting different like seasonings on it. And then there you go, like, oh, my idea of what a Brussels sprout tasted like is now different.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. You know, the other day, just 2 days ago, I was eating cauliflower and I was sworn I was eating chicken wings.
What, you just regular cauliflower?
No, it was buffalo cauliflower. So they took this cauliflower and they actually breaded it and lightly fried it in like grapeseed oil. And it was like a vegan dish and it was amazing. It like had the flavors of a chicken wing, but it was actually cauliflower. The outside was coated in buffalo. It was amazing. Yeah, it was really good.
I'm about to try that.
It was really good. Yeah.
So one thing is, at Great Boots, one thing we do is we don't have necessarily seasonings and spices, but we definitely take our herbs, and I try to make sure we use everything out of the garden out there. I try to make sure we don't waste a thing.
Okay.
So what we do is when the herbs are starting to like turn and go bad, I'll take them and dry them.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then I grind them up and bottle them so people can have like spices for their just regular counter, like whether it's oregano or basil, or I even do the peppers, the hot peppers like that. And they're hot, like you'll die just breathing them.
I believe it.
And so I do all that to make sure we utilize everything out there. So in your spice making, have you thought about I don't know if you use or where your sources come from, but it'd be an idea.
Yeah, 100%. So I actually go to different spice markets and have relationships with different vendors and getting fresh spices. Like I love actually in Atlanta, the DeKalb Farmers Market. Get a lot of stuff from there, and a lot of Ethiopian markets out here. We got a little town called Little Ethiopia, which is close to where I live.
So you put your spice sacks together yourself?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. Put them together and ship them out. And yeah, we're in the house right now, man. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So tell me one thing about what you do that people wouldn't readily know. Like sometimes you have this idea in your mind about what chefs do and we make these assumptions, but like what's one thing that people wouldn't think about when you're talking about what you do?
I think it goes back to me, being a teacher, right? People just don't understand that I actually taught culinary arts. And before that, before I even moved to California, I taught culinary at a juvenile detention facility. So what it did was actually connected me to the kids in a different way, right? So I was young and I was able to go in there and they were relatable, right? They seen a young Black man that listened to the same music as them, and I would close the door and really just be like, look, man, you guys made mistakes. Let's go through, let's get out, let's figure out what you're gonna do with your life, and just have real conversations with them about changing their life. And it wasn't a fearful thing. And, being able to connect with them through food is something that they got excited about. So it was a more, we connected a little more and a little better because a lot of people were just turning their nose up at them or looking away. And me, I'm coming in like, man, what you in here for? What? Like, why would you do something so stupid? You know what I'm saying? Like, and just having those conversations, like, so really mentoring. I've been on the road talking. Lamont and I actually met on the road at, speaking at the UNCF Empowerment Tour. So I've taught and spoke to different college students across the country, and I'm really, really big on giving back and just, educating the next generation. So it's really not just about being a chef, and done 2 television shows, traveled the world with Sean Combs, obviously, as his personal chef. So just done a lot of different cool things through food.
That's like growing, eating, sustaining the community. There it is right there.
That's right.
So before we get out of here today, one thing I want to ask you is what keeps you rooted?
My family.
Okay.
My family. Yeah. My kids. They're the next generation. They are, they're watching everything we do.
Yeah, they are.
They're watching everything we do. So it's just important to just try to be the best version of ourselves that we can. You know what I mean? In all aspects of life. And we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to do different things. But I think it's important to just have something to shoot for. And then just understand that, somebody's watching at all aspects, right?
They are.
Yeah. So that's what it is for me at the moment.
So tell everybody where they can find you.
So I'm on Instagram, Chef DAS, that's Chef DAS. I'm on Twitter, Chef DAS as well. And then, my website is chefdaz.com. Spice Sack Foods, spelled just like it sounds. www.spicesack is the website.
So is that SACK?
SACK, yep.
Okay.
Yep, so spicesack.com. And then, I'm all over, man. I'm easy to find. Chef DAS, Chef DAS.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes,
I wish we had more time.
It was fun. Yes. So I learned so much thing about you I didn't even know, man. I've known you for a couple of years now, man. Didn't even know you got a whole garden podcast, and
I know, right?
check it
And
out.
like, I didn't know you came from this big family like me. Like all this stuff. We're learning about each other, growing and sustaining. Look at that.
I'm telling you, man, that's life for you, man. Communication is good.
Yes. So thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Chef DAS. Make sure you go get his spices. You got them? You enjoyed the interview?
I enjoyed the interview since I was been on location, so I wasn't able to participate. But I think you did an outstanding job. Finally, pulling your weight.
Oh, thank you. You know, it was an easy interview. Especially, you know, we kept the conversation going. So make sure that you get some spices because they're going to really turn your foods into cuisines, especially those vegetables that you're growing in your garden. But before we get out of here this week.
Yeah, we'll put that link on the website so people can go there too.
Oh, yes. But before we get out of here this week, we need to do our PSA. And as you guys know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so here are 10 ways you can get involved during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So you can, of course, wear pink. Malcolm, you got your pink stuff? Oh, Farmer Mac, you got your pink.
Yes, I do.
You can volunteer. You can help a cancer patient. You can share facts and statistics. Again, make sure they're true. You can educate yourself and others about cancer screenings. You can decorate a bulletin board. You can fund research initiatives, and you can participate in a runner walk. But just make sure you do something because, you guys, breast cancer affects our communities in larger numbers than any other community. So make sure you're doing your part.
Absolutely.
And then make sure you also wrap up your Sunday Fun Day with Throwback Sundays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You want to listen to the R&B, soul, and hip hop from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, of course, on www.tlscradio.com. That's all I got. What you got?
That is all. Another fantastic episode. Like I said, check us out online at tlscradio.com/shows, the Turnip. And outside of that, listen to all the other different shows. Like I said, it's something, especially the music and the DJ. So, you know, not just our podcast, spread the love. Yep. And to get those spices, our website is graperoots.org, just so y'all know. Yep. All right. With that, we're out.